Damihan mong isasaing mo, Lia. Mukhang mapaparami ang kain niyang si Ate Cos dahil ganito ang alimasag ang luluto ko. Utos ni Auntie Josephine nang dumating ito mula sa klinik. Napag-usapan ng mga ito kanina ang mga paboritong pagkain ng binata habang naghuhugas ng mga pinggan. Teka Mama Lily, di ko pa po na itatanong kung dito siya kakain. Malamang may lakad din ngayon. At ubili niyang sagot. Her aunt rolled her eyes at her. Ay, wag kang ang padedma dyan. Nakita mo ba ang postura? Mukhang magpapaampula sa atin. Dito maghahaponan yan. Sumilip si Lia sa partisyon na naghihiwalay sa sala at sa kabahayan. She could see Ate Cos on the floor with Jayden and Isabel, who appeared to be clustered around their old Monopoly board. Parang ang saya-saya ng mga ito. She went to join them. Sali ka ate. Yaya ni Isabel nang mapansin siya. Lumingon si Ate Cos sa kanya. Dito ka ba maghahaponan? Aniya. Napatingin bigla sa orasan ng binata. Me, it's 7 p.m. already. Anitong parang sarili lang kinakausap. Ginataang alimasag ang ulam Ate Cos. Sabad ni Auntie Josephine na may kinuha mula sa pantry at sinadyang mag-butt-in sa usapan nila. Darn! Napasuntok sa sariling palad si Ate Cos. Then he looked up at Lia. Can I stay for supper please? Tangi ka ba? Alangang palayasin pa kita magluluto na nga kami. Huwag kang maupo sa sahig. Madudumihan ang shorts mo. Puti pa naman. Aniya bago tumalikod. She could not keep on looking back at him when he's pleading and looking so cute and handsome like that. Damn her beating heart. She ignored Mama Lily's knowing smile on her way to the kitchen. Nang matapos ang masayang hapunan, iyahatid niya si Ate Cos sa labas ng bahay. May baon itong Tupperware ng alaman ay buko pandan. Your family likes me, he said while they were walking to the gate. Oh, sigurado ka, ha? Natatawang sabi niya. Oo naman, anak ng politiko to. I can tell when an audience is charmed. So, you are playing to your audience pala. Tumingala siya rito. Ang tigas ng iling nito. Of course not. I'm just saying I know how to read people. And I know when I am being liked. Huwag kang masyadong conceited. Hindi utu-uto ang pamilya ko. I know that, pero nagpapauto sila sa akin. Which means they like me. Pumitik pa ito sa ere. Tumawa na lamang siya. Hindi niya maintindihan kung parang big deal dito ang gusto nito ng mga tao sa bahay nila. Sa tingin naman niya hindi nagkulang sa admirers ang binata mula pagkabata pa lamang. Everybody loved to cater to the rich and the affluent. Walang hindi nagpa-patronize sa royalty. When they reached the gate, si Ate Cos na nagpresentang magbukas ng mga locks doon. Hold this. Anito't inabot sa kanyang dalang Tupperware. Yumuko ito slightly to undo the locks of the gate. Kahit malalim ng gabi, she could still smell his faint cologne in the evening air. Lumayo siya ng kaunti rito. So, do I get a good night kiss or what? Biglang sabi ni Ate Cos nang marating nilang kotse nitong nakaparada sa tabi ng daan. He was smiling down at her mischievously. Kiss mo siko ko, ani Lia holding up her left elbow. Aktong hahalikan ngayon ng uto-uto. Mabilis nang iniiwas iyon at iniabot ang Tupperware dito. Umayos ka nga, para kang bata. Ikaw din naman na, para kang bata. You lick your fingers when you're eating. You ask for seconds by holding up your plate sa auntie mo. Kinikis-kis mo pang paa mo sa rug under the table. She stared at him open-mouthed. Kala mo, di ko napansin oh. Natatawang sabi ni Ate Cos. Akala ko nga you were playing footsie with me. Dagdag pa nito. Kinarot ni Lia ang ilong nito. I wasn't. Marisyoso ka. Ngayon naman nagpapakit ka. He grinned. Then he stared at her some more. Nakakailang na talagang inaasan nito. And you sure you don't want that kiss? Because I'm dying to give it to you. Nanunokso nitong anas. She decided to play him at his own game. Mister, manligaw ka muna bago ka manghingi ng kiss. Mistulang napatdam binata nang sabihin ni Lia iyon. He suddenly stopped smiling. Tumalikod ito sa kanya at binuksan ang passenger door na escape. Ipinasok doon ang Tupperware and shut the door. So thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun. Anito, nakangiti na ulit pero wala na ang pinilitong aura kani-kanina lang. I hope hindi ko sinira ang Saturday mo. Nalilito man, sumagot pa rin si Lia. It's fine. Ingat ka sa pagmamaneho. Ani at naglakad na pabalik sa bahay nila. She felt confused and a little embarrassed. Manligaw? As if. How could she have said it to him? Psst. Lia looked up and she saw Ate Cos, hurrying to catch up with her. It had been 2 weeks since she last heard of him. Pauwi ka na? Anito nang maabutan siya. Well, tumingin si Lia sa wristwatch. It's 5 in the afternoon. Dala ko ng bag ko, and I'm standing on the bus stop. Ngumiti ito. Nagtatampo ka ba sa akin? Nito. He did something surprising. He rubbed the side of her chin with his thumb. Right there on the street, sa sakayan ng bus where the construction workers, motorists, and jeepney passengers could see. Iniiwas niya ang mukha mula sa kamay nito. Nagtatampo ka nga. Sige, I'll make it up to you. I'll make you dinner. How about that? Hindi ako nagtatampo. Bakit ako magtatampo? Niya, determinedly avoiding his eyes. Hindi niya maintindihan kung bakit ganun tumakaasta, na parang baliwalang 2 linggo na hindi siya nito kinausap. Hindi rin ito dumaan man lamang sa desk niya. Ni text o tawag wala. Pero bakit niya hahanapin yun? Boyfriend niya ba to? Baka mapahiya lang siya kapag sinabi niya mga iniisip. But he was acting as if she had the right to say those things. Nalilito na siya. Sorry na, Leah. I was away on a trip. Sinabi sa'yo ni Rose, diba? Yup, 3 days after you left. At sa tingin mo ba dapat kitang ipagtanong sa sekretarya mo? He looked immediately contrite. You're right. I should have told you myself. It was just... No, hindi ang ibig kong sabihin. I mean, ewan ko sa'yo. She started to walk away. Hindi rin niya maintindihan ng sarili. She was behaving like a teenager. Pakipot na teenager. Totoo na sumama ang loob niya nang malamang nasa Singapore ito mula kay Rose na hindi man lang nagpaalam sa kanya. And now he was apologizing at tumaas na siyang offended na nag-apologize ito. Doggedly, he followed. Sinubukan itong kunin ang kanyang book bag pero hinaklit niya yon palayo. She had wanted to act cool and indifferent pero ito siya ngayon, parang nagmamaktol na girlfriend. She wanted to punch herself. At the same time ay bumabangang kilig sa paghahabol ng binata sa kanya. She wanted to punch herself even more. Biglaan yung confidence. We had been trying to get into this architectural society sa Asia. And we were invited and I had to go put our company in the map. That I had to go to Seoul para sa mga suppliers natin. I had been working while away. And di ba nabanggit mo midterms mo so hindi na kita inestorbo? And what? When you got back, hindi ka na pumasok. Or pumasok ka man sa office, umalis ka agad. And you don't even think to say hi or why are you even explaining? Angil niya. Because you are demanding it with your behavior. Mahinahong sagot nito. He got hold of her arm and forced her to stop poking. Sumama ka na sa akin. Let's be friends again. Magluluto ako for you. There, he said it. Natahimik siya. She looked at his earnest face. Ni hindi ito pinawisan sa marathon nilang dalawa. He still looked fresh, unruffled in his deep green golf shirt and faded jeans. Let's be friends daw. Eto naman siya nagfi-feeling na parang girlfriend kung makadima na explanation mula rito. She hunched over like a deflated balloon. Okay, it's fine, but I cannot go with you on your dinner. Sa ibang araw na lang. Bakit? Wala kang klase. Tinanong ko si Rose, sabi niya uuwi ka na daw at Monday pang classes mo. Sabi pa nito, the clueless SOB. Mag-aaral pa ako. Aniya? Well, it won't take long. I will drive you home before 8 p.m. Promise. Leah hesitated. Then ate ko said, Did you know? I missed you. Tumingala siya sa binata. Stunned by the last thing he said, she missed him too. And thinking that he was turned off by what she said last time tungkol sa panliligaw nito, made her scream with shame inside. Against her better judgment, she nodded. Okay. Atikos lived in Valle Verde. His house was one of those well-kept houses na halatang lumang estilo pero na-maintain pa rin ang charm through the decades. Mahaba ang circular driveway. A man named Alfred parked the car for them. Tahimik sa buong kabahayan and their steps echoed on the tile floor. Atikos switched on the lights as they went. Ikaw lang ba mag-isa dito? Tanong ni Leah sa lalaki. The house looked clean and tidy but empty. My uncle lives with me at si Kuya Lord and my parents visit occasionally. This is our family home when I was growing up. But then after my dad's stint as TFA secretary, he had to establish residence sa Algiers when he was appointed consul and then afterwards sa Austria. He and mom liked Europe, so they eventually bought a home and they stayed there. May condo din ako but I'm selling it because mama asked that I stayed here. It was falling into disrepair na rin and I loved this house when I was growing up, so I came back. Sayang at wala si uncle dito. He would have liked to meet you. Na isang sekretary ng kumpanya mo? Namamahala ba siya ng employment agency? She teased. They had reached the dining room. Nilingon siya nito, an answering smile on his face. You're teasing me. That's better. That means you're over being mad at me. Leah shrugged. Wala naman akong dapat ikagalit. Wrong. And I like that you acted like this, demanding. Furious girlfriend, and I had to explain. At least I was getting a reaction from you. Leah fought hard not to blush, but she was blushing. Clearly, pinagtatawanan siya nito. Unang pagtakpan ang kahiyan, pinagtuunan niya ng pansin ng mga picture frames na nakapatong sa mantelpiece sa hindi kanayuan. There was one of Atticus who looked to be around 15 and a girl standing together in what looked to be a party clothes noong early 90s. Payatot si Atticus, but his smile looked exactly the same. Mischievous, boyish, winsome. The girl beside him looked like a slender Donita Rose in her mid-teens. Mestiza, nakapusod ang buhok, wearing a white flory sleeveless dress and a corsage in her wrist. She was lovely and they made a lovely picture together. Sino siya? Tanong niya kay Atticus habang hawak ang larawan. Oh, that's a family friend. That is prom night nung high school. Mom was always taking pictures. Now, what would you like to eat? Ang ganda niya. Komento pa niya. She couldn't help it. Family friends seemed to glib. Kung kaklase lang yun nakapareha ni ate ko sa prom, bakit kailangan kasali ito sa family photos na nakadisplay sa bahay ng mga to? Atticus looked over at the photo. Her? Oh yeah. Mom used to call her the Philippines Audrey Hepburn. Pasta or steak? She did look like Audrey Hepburn. Only my boobs at palakang teenager sa picture. Di kagaya ng Hollywood icon na sinasabi ni Atticus. Leah gave the photo one last look and answered. Pasta na lang. Tulungan na kitang gumawa. Oh no! Sa daming beses ko na nakikain sa inyo, dapat ako naman na magsilbi sa'yo. But do keep me company while I cook. He started opening cupboards and looking into the refrigerator. Umupo si Leah sa isa sa mga stools na nakapalibot sa kitchen table. May sink sa gitna niyon at isang maluwag na bowl na naglalaman ng sari-saring prutas. Sa taas ay nakasabit ang sari-saring pots and pans. The kitchen looked like something makikita sa Architectural Digest. Wala kang maid pero para magluto para sa'yo? Or maglinis itong house? Well, we have a couple of people who come in twice a week to clean and do the laundry. But between the three of us, si Uncle, Kuya Lord and me, we manage fine. Besides, I'm away a lot so wala talagang point to set up permanent housekeeping. Bachelors can live on anything. Atticus grinned at her while he laid out some onions to chop. So araw-araw lagi ka nagluluto? Nangalumbaba siya habang pinapanood ito. No, most of the time I order in for the three of us. Sometimes I eat out before I go home. You have so many questions. He reached over to pinch her cheek. She laughed a little. His touch always came as a surprise. Surprises she did not exactly dislike. Gusto ko lang malaman kung paano ka nabubuhay nang walang ibang katulong. Jaden can find his brief without shouting for Mama or Mama Lily. Nakakahiyang kapatid kong yun. Ang swerte nga ni Jaden, nakakaingit siya. Ani Atticus. Bakit naman? Tanong niya. Well, I grew up with my two kuyas. Si Kuya Travis, then si Kuya Austin. They're both overachievers. Kuya Travis got into Harvard Law. Kuya Austin studied microbiology at Oxford. That time kasi nakabase ng mga parents ko sa Europe. So they opted for a European education. They also wanted me to follow them but I came back after a year. I don't like the weather, the food. I was very homesick. It was a big deal for my family too. When at 18, I flew back here and went to Mapua instead. I wanted to be an architect. My family dreaded the fact that I wanted to be in the arts because they were all into what they call solid fields. My dad was a politician through and through, even when he is now just serving as an advisor at Philippine Embassy in the UK. Ang mga kuya ko, abogado at scientist. Si mama, businesswoman. At ako gusto ko mag-drawing. That's how they put my career. So as punishment, they let me go and only sent money regularly. Si Uncle lang di nakatiis and he moved in with me to take care of me. Kuya Alfred had always been here. Sila na nakalakhan ko ever since. Even when I was growing up, maids took care of us, or yayas, because neither of my parents were ever home. Don't get me wrong, I love my mom and dad. They were very devoted. They only want what's best for us. They challenged us and gave us the best of opportunities to advance ourselves. The best schools, the best clothes, the best sports clinic, and the best tutors. Sometimes though, in their efforts to give us the best, they simply forget that we're just kids who only wanted their time. I know this may seem like pity winning. I've been giving so much blessings at hindi ako nagkikahusgayan ng marami, but I would have loved to trade with your brother Jaden. Surrounded by people who's always there when I come home, who could take care of me no matter what. Leah was moved by what she was hearing. She had always been turned off by men who talked too much of themselves. But Atticus, when he talked, he sounded like he is sharing a part of him that he rarely ever shared with someone else. She imagined him as a teenager doing his own homework, coming home to an empty house, uncle at driver lang kasama at pwedeng kausapin. Her heart went out to the young Atticus, she imagined. I would have been lucky to be your sister. Tangi niyang sinabi. Nakalimutan ang tampo sa disappearance nito. He was just Atticus again. Vulnerable, kind, funny, charming. Really? Atticus' eyes twinkled. He was already adding salt to the pasta noodles in the pot. He had been talking while cooking. He moved gracefully. Walang aksayadong galaw. Pwedeng-pwede tong cooking show host sa TV. He would win moms over with his charming manner. Disarm the most rigid woman with his boyish smile. Yeah. Well, I have always wanted a sister. Yung pwede kong lambingin? Pwede ka bang ganon? Tumitig ito sa kanya. Gagawin siyang ate? Leah shrugged. Sure, whatever. Hindi ka kaya magkaroon ng incestuous feeling sa akin? He was looking at her in such a way na hindi mapagkakamalang brotherly. Nakataas ang isa nitong kilay, his eyes rolling all over her face, and his lips were upturned in a mischievous smile. He was definitely flirting with her. She stood up. You're gross. Aniat siyoso ang bintana sa kitchen, kung saan ang tanaw ang lanay sa gilid ng bahay. Where are you going? Atticus rapidly followed Leah, surprising her by wrapping his arms around her waist and scooping her up in the air in a tight hug. Atticus! She yelled breathlessly. Ang pikon mo talaga, no? He whispered in her ear. Nangilabot si Leah. Her ear was one of the most ticklish parts of her body, and it felt like he was kissing her ear. Ibaba mo ako, please. Halos bulong na lamang niyang sabi. Baka may makakita sa atin kung anong isipin. Not only pikon, but malicious-minded. As far as we're concerned, we're just brother and sister having fun here. Atticus whirled her around until he faced her. Binabasya nito pero hindi siya pinakawalan. They were now standing face to face. Ang cute mo. If I could, I would just pick you up and put you in my pocket. You don't weigh a thing. Kumakain ka ba ng mabuti? She could not utter a word. She was too aware of Atticus, his maleness, his manly strength beneath his apron, the tight hold he had around her waist, his smell, his voice. Maluloka na siya. If this was just a game to him, she was definitely on the losing end. Atticus, please, let me go. He looked at her for a few seconds, and seeing the discomfort in her face, let her go so suddenly she had to steady herself with her hand on the windowsill. Tumalikod ang lalaki at tinungan na kasalang na noodles. It is almost ready, Leah. Help me set the table sa lanay. Halika. Sumunod siya ng walang kibo. Naluloko na talaga siya sa pabigla-bigla na itong pag-shift ng gears. Madaling naluto ang pasta dish ni Atticus. It was a simple fare, with olives, chives, tomatoes, and olive oil. He sprinkled a generous heaping of parmesan on her plate before returning with a bottle of red wine. I thought I would have to serve you with soda, and then I discovered may natira pa pala from Curie Chavez's last visit. Cheerful na bungad ang binata while placing the bottle in a bucket filled with ice. Sa metal table na nasa corner ng malawak na lanay sila pumesto, kung saan tanaw nila ang Zen garden sa gilid ng bahay at ang kasadang tahimik sa harapan. There was an odd assortment of antique jars, furniture made of wood, at isang estatwa ng kirub na may pasang banga kung saan may tumataga sa tubig bababa sa paanan nito. A miniature fountain. The evening care was cool and Atticus had put a vinyl record on the old-fashioned player sa grand living room. The music floated to them. Atticus poured wine on their goblets. It was Chianti, and Dia instinctively knew na mamahalin at galing pa sa ibang bansa ang inumin na yun. Unlike the cheap 200 a bottle na mabibili sa grocery stores, na karaniwan niyang pangregalo kapag iniimbitan siya sa mga handaan ng dating bosses na lawyers. Let's make a toast to you acing your finals, ani Atticus while holding his glass aloft. Thank you, and to you, to winning the bidding sa Jumoyo International. Ani ang tinutukoy ang pinakabago nilang sinusuyong kumpanya. Their glasses clinked together, and they both sipped from their glasses. She laughed to dispel the tension, dahil nakatingin lang na walang korap si Atticus sa kanya, para itong eng-eng. I feel like I'm a grown-up, drinking wine from a prosper glass and all. Aniya kapag daka. You are pretty when your makeup is fading. Sagot nito with a slight smile on his face. He reached over to touch her cheek again. Na-conscious si Leah. Her makeup was fading na raw. Malamang ang putla na niya dahil wala ng blush at lipstick niya. Don't be nervous. I like it when you chattel and don't mind me. Sige, kumain na tayo. Anitong nagsimula nang ang kumain. Ginaya niya ito. The food was still piping hot and it was delicious. Not heavy like the usual spaghetti she made at home. Loaded with ground pork and hot dogs. It was a simple, light fare and she liked it. Masarap! Turuan mo akong gumawa nito. I-introduce ko ang mga tao sa bahay sa pasang walang hotdogs. Aniya. The man laughed. Kanya-kanyang taste lang yan. I just prefer to use real cherry tomatoes on my pasta instead of canned tomato sauce. It is lighter and I like a little bit sour. Paliwanag nito. They enjoyed talking while the meal progressed and Leah found herself relaxing. Maybe it was the wine. Masarap kasi kaya mapapainom siya na animoy tubig yon. And Atticus was a very gracious host. Makwento at kengkoy. He touched her often, pinching her cheek or tapping her forearm. And maybe it was the music or everything. Nang maubos ng pasta, kumuha ng cheesecake si Atticus at tinilbahan pa siya. Gumagawa ang wife ni JP nito. I bought a couple of boxes. May sweet tooth kasi ang mga tao dito sa bahay, including me. Kwento nito sabay kindat. Si JP ay isa sa mga architect sa SAS. Masarap din ang cheesecake. Leah finished hers off in no more than 10 minutes. Tumawa si ate ko sa bilis niyang kumain. Nagmamadali ka ba? I told you I will drive you home. No, masarap lang kasi. Kudos to JP's misis. Maluwang ang ngiti niya. Sumandal siya sa upuan. She was feeling pleasantly drowsy from the wine. Oh no, are you drunk? You've finished 3 glasses. Anito? No, syempre hindi ako lasing. I would be asleep if I'm lasing. Aniya, umiling-iling ito. Ililapit ito ang sariling upuan sa kanya. She straightened. What are you doing? Tumatabi sa'yo, ang layo mo kasi. Anito na parang normal lang yon. Bakit kailangan malapit ka? Aniya, suspicious. So I can smell you. You always smell like mangoes. Sagot ito na sininghot-singhot pa ang buhok niya. It definitely is the wine. Naisip niya na hindi malamang ang layong ang sarili. Pagkos ay nanatili siya sa posisyon. Ulo para maisandali iyon sa balikat ni Atticus. That's better. He murmured and kissed the top of her head. They did not talk anymore. Just sat there in the dark and the night with only the fairy lights in the garden and the faint light from the house illuminating their table. It was imminent that they kiss. Sa utak ni Leah parang yun ang dapat na susunod na mangyayari, and she did not even question it. Atticus' warmth was enervating her, in such a way that no energy drink could ever. His nearness electrified her. His smell intoxicated her more than the Chianti. Bawat himaymay ng katawan niya ay atune sa bawat kilos ng binata. She wasn't sure who moved first, but when she turned her head towards him, he was ready for her and their lips met. His lips tasted sweet and firm. And it was like they were discovering each other tentatively. Matapos ang ilang sandali, their gentle nibbling turned into a full-blown kiss that quite melted Leah's senses away. She parted her lips and Atticus took the invitation eagerly. Her hand went out to the back of Atticus' neck and caressed his nape. His hand slid down her arm. He was cradling her head so she responded in kind to his kisses. It was a long while before they broke off, and that was because they heard a sound in the driveway. Parang nagulat na kumawala si Leah mula kay Atticus. Pareho silang bagyang iningal ng magkahiwalay. Atticus was looking down at her with a curious expression on his face, but he did not prevent her from moving away. May tao, she said uselessly. May kotseng pumarada sa garahe sa tapat. Her heart was beating away frantically inside her chest. Kailangan niyang bawiin ang hininga. Si Uncle na yata yon. Stay here and I will introduce you. Ani Atticus who stood up. Okay, pero kailangan ko nang umuwi. It is almost 9. Sagot niya. Mukhang may sasabihin pa si Atticus pero tumungo lamang ito at pumasok na pabalik ng bahay. Inayos ni Leah ang sarili. Nagulo ang kanyang buhok kung kaya sinuklay niya iyon sa pamamagitan ng daliri. Nasa foyer ang kanyang purse. Doon niya iniwan kanina pagkapasok sa bahay. Ayon na rin sa suggestion ni Atticus. Inayos niyang upo at nagkunwarang busy sa pag-inom ng tubig. Oh my God! Oh my God! Paulit-ulit na usal niya sa isip. They just kissed. She just kissed Atticus and Atticus kissed her. She kissed her boss. Naulinigan niya ang dalawang tao nag-uusap mula sa loob ng bahay at mga yabag papalapit. Pagdakay sumunga mula sa doorframe si Atticus, kasamang isang middle-aged na lalaki na mas matangkad dito. He was obviously very good looking in his heyday. Dalalata pa rin yun sa kabila ng gray hairs at linya sa noo, and the slight punch underneath the white sports shirts. Mukha itong kagalang-galang at pilyo at the same time. Now Leah knew where Atticus got his naughty boyish charm from. Bakit dito mo tinatagong bisita mo sa dilim, Atticus? Yon ang unang sabi ng lalaki. Leah squirmed in embarrassment. Mukhang nanonood siya ang tiyuhin ni Atticus, like he knew what's going on. The dining room was stuffy, Uncle John. Don't be crude. This is Leah from the office. She is a law student at UST. Leah, this is my crusty old Uncle John. Ani Atticus nang makalapit ng mga ito. Tumayo siya at pagkamay sa matandang lalaki. Good evening po. Aniya sa mababang tinig. Good evening. I cannot properly see you but you look too young to be in law school. How old are you? 19? She grinned hugely. Give or take. Aniya. Ang lakas ng tawa ng tiyuhin ni Atticus. Naupo ito sa isang silya sa harap ni Leah. I have a few barkadas na nag-aaral pa ka sa UST na mga abogado na ngayon. You might know Ludwig Lopez? Professor ko po siya dati sa political science subjects nung undergrad. Sagot niya. Atticus groaned. No, I met her first, uncle. Out of place niyo ako niyan. Naupo ulit si Atticus, pero napansin ni Leah na umisod ito ng kaunti palayo sa kanya. Let's not talk of old people, shan't we? Baling nito sa kanya. Nakipag-usap lang siya ng ilang saglit sa uncle ni Atticus at nagpaalam na rin siya. Tahimik silang dalawa habang daan. Nakatingin siya sa bintana. Nagulat siya nang biglang kunin ni Atticus ng kamay niya. He brought it to his lips while looking straight ahead. Libo-libong tanong ang nagsasalambayan sa isip niya. But she had a feeling asking them would ruin the moment. She liked him holding her hand. It was the most wonderful thing in the world. Nang mga sumunod na araw, naging busy si Atticus. Madalas ay nasa labas ito, meeting with clients. There were days when he did not come to the office at all. On those days, he would call Leah on her desk phone. Minsan, prank calls. Minsan just to tell her what he had been doing. Papipiliin siya kung anong ulam ang kakainin nito for lunch or itatanong kung anong ginagawa niya. Bago siya matulog, nakikipagkulitan dito sa text. Leah wanted to ask kung ano na ba sila. But other than that kiss sa lanay and the phone calls, Atticus had told her nothing. At nakakahiya ko siya manguna. Kahit nganinganin niyang tanongin ito kung magkaano nga ba sila. Ano ba? Ako ba may kailangang malaman? Nakataas ang kilay ni Rose habang nakatitig sa kanya. She had just put the phone down after Atticus had described a weird stranger in a coffee shop, and she was smiling. Wala. Bakit? Patay mali siya niyang sagot. Pati ba naman ako paglilihiman mo pa? Ako numero ng unang chismosa dito. Pero may nagtatanong na sa akin at wala akong maisagot. Kumunot ang noon niya. Nagtatanong? Sino? Dito sa office. Rose looked seemed to say something but Leah chose to ignore it. Atticus was happy. For the past 2 years, sa pagsimula ng SAS, okupado ng mga problema ng karaniwan na nagsisimulang negosyo ang lahat ng energies niya. He did not feel exactly unhappy, but now he was feeling giddy, like a schoolboy. In meetings, he would see Leah busting around, handing out presentation handouts, coffee. She would smile at partners who offered small talk or who would tease her. She seemed shy but friendly, always ready to smile back. Madalas he would find himself wanting to call her at odd times of the day. Pero pinipigilan niyang sariling gawin yon. Kagaya ngayon, napadaan siya sa flower shop. He had an impulse to get some wild calla lilies for Leah. But when he was driving home, umurong ang atay niya. Anong iisipin ni Leah sa lahat ng yun? Ipinasya niyang ipagpaliban na lamang ang pagbibigay ng bulaklak. Bahagya siyang nagulat na makitang may ibang sasakyan nakaparada sa kanilang driveway. Humahango sa sumulubong ang kanyang kuya Alfred pagkababa niya ng sasakyan. Atticus, ang daddy mo nandito. Waring excited na balita nito. Atticus was shocked. Ha? Hindi siya nagpasabi. Nalilito niyang tanong. Naghihintay sila sa lanay. Ani Alfred at waring tinutulak na siya papasok ng bahay. Nalaman ni Atticus ang sila na tinutukoy ni Alfred when he reached the lanay. His father was fit as ever. Kahit puti na lahat ng buhok nito, ang mga mata ay alerto pa rin. His posture straight. His face appeared to be as young as 50 instead of 65 years. Sa tabi nito yung taong matagal nang hindi nakikita ni Atticus. Elise Ramona. Atticus! Elise walked up to him, giving him a hug. She smelled like fresh dew. Oh my gosh! Look at you! You've grown! Nito sabay tawa at bumaling sa kanyang papa. Tito, look at him! I'm looking, Iha. Nakangiting sagot ang matandang lalaki. Kamusta ka, iho? I'm in shock. Tanging nasabi ni Atticus. Ellie still had her arm around him. Tumawa ito sa sinabi niya. It was my idea. We wanted to surprise you. Anitong tuwang-tuwa sa reaksyon niya. My, I miss you. What are you guys doing here? Tanong niya. I have come to see this company of yours na pinagmamalaki nitong si Elise. And I understand your engagement. Nakangiti ang kanyang papa sa kanilang dalawa ni Elise. Elise was looking up at him. I guess I'm tired of running around the globe, Atticus. I have decided to come home. Do you? Deklara nito, her eyes shining. I am accepting your proposal. Atticus was wildly confused for a moment. Then he remembered. Noong last time sila nagkausap sa telepono, about 2 years ago, and he was just getting some funding for SAS. He had asked her to come home and marry him. Tinawanan siya ni Elise at sinabing maraming pwedeng gustong gawin. Atticus had told her to come home when she was tired of it all and that he would be waiting. And now here she was, in his arms, in his life. He did not know what to say. So hinawak na lamang niyang kamay nito at ginitian ang babae. Hindi mapakali si Leah sa kinaupuan. Kanina pa niya gustong magtanong kay Rose pero nahihiya siya. Ano na lang bang iisipin nito? Wala siyang maisip na official reason para tanungin ang whereabouts ng binata. At malamang may kung anong iisipin si Rose tungkol doon. Kagabi pa walang text o tawag ang binata. Wala man siyang karapatan para umasa sa regular nitong text. Nakasanayan niya iyon kaya naninibago siya. She noticed that people were converging malapit sa conference room. Parang may mga bagong dating. Saktong dumaan, si Owen kaya tinawag niya ito. Sir Owen! Lumingon ang lalaki. Ano nangyayari? Bakit? Magulo yata. Hindi mo alam? Nandito lahat ng big bosses at board. Birthday ni Sir Felipe, yung dati ni Chief Atticus. Humahango sa dumating si Rose. Mukhang galing ito sa taas. Girl, tulungan mo ako. We have to call like 100 people. Ipapaayos natin ang function hall sa baba. Magdadatingan ng mga imbitado mamaya. Bakit sa yaman ng mga taong to, hindi lang sa hotel mag-celebrate? Ang liit-liit kaya nitong office natin. Si Sir Atticus ang may gusto nito. Gusto yata ipagmalaki ang office sa daddy niya. Then Atticus understood. Hindi pa pala na ipapakita ni Atticus ang SAS sa daddy nito. Malamang excited na excited ang binata. Pero bakit hindi nito nabanggit man lamang sa kanya? Dati maski flavor ng ice cream na gusto nitong subukan, itinetext sa kanya. Napailing siya. Noong huling linggo rin, nanibago siya sa kilos nito. The last time they talked was on the phone and he sounded distracted. She felt a little hurt because of it. Para palubagin ang loob, iniisip na lamang niyang ganoon siguro dahil sa sobrang excitement at sa dami ng ginagawa ay nakaligtaan na niyang kwentuhan ng binata. She resolved to stay cheerful. This was Atticus' big day. She should be happy along with him. Inaayos na Leah ang mga bulaklak sa centerpiece nang pumasok si Matthew kasama si Feby, ang receptionist. Very nice, Leah. Feby, anong oras daw darating yung pianist? In an hour, sir. Ang romantic naman na Sir Atticus. Parang kinikilig na sabi ni Feby. Leah, eto yung place names, oh. Ikaw nang bahala mag-ayos kung saan sila uupo. Tinanggap ni Leah mga place cards. Anong meron kay Sir Atticus? Pilit niyang pinakaswalang tono. May kakaiba na talaga siyang nararamdaman. Para nanginginig ang mga kamay niya kaya ibinaba niya iyon upang itago mula sa mga kaharap. It is supposed to be a secret. But now that you know, i-announce na daw ng Secretary Felipe ang engagement ni Sir Atticus sa fiancé niya. Leah did not seem to have heard Matthew correctly. Nakatitig lang siya sa lalaki. Kahit nga kami hindi namin alam yan eh. 2 taon pa lang naman. Wala kami nababalita ang girlfriend o fiancé si Chief. Nagulat na lang kami nang tumawag sa Secretary Felipe kanina. Kwento ni Matthew. Tumango si Leah. Then she dropped the place cards on the table. Teka lang ha, mag-CCR lang ako. Aniya sa dalawa at naglakad patungo sa washroom. Ang galing nga niya at hindi bumigay ang tuhod niya habang naglalakad. When she reached the washroom, pumasok siya sa isang cubicle at nilakang pinto niyon. Fiancé! Nanlalamig siya. Parang may kung anong umuugong sa tenga niya. She held her head in her hands. Sinubukan niyang pakalmahin ang sarili. Leah, you don't know what's going on. There is no use going to panic without getting the facts first. Baka na-misunderstand lang ni Matthew ni Auntie Fevy ang instructions ni Atticus. Baka isa sa mga kapatid nito ay engaged at hindi si Atticus. Then Leah slapped her forehead. She couldn't have fallen to the same trap like before. Nagtiwala at nahulog sa isang lalaki na mabilis ang dila. Then she winced. Wala naman sila ni Atticus, hindi ba? Ano ba sila? Nagte-text. He kissed her at hinayaan niya ito. It felt wonderful being with him and he seemed happy to be with her. Pero wala itong binanggit tungkol sa estado. Sa relasyon nila, at hindi ito demonstrative sa harap ng mga katrabaho. Gusto niyang matawa. Dati siyang pinagtaksilan, ngayon siya naman ng third party. Hindi naman nagkakaroon ng fiancé ang isang tao sa loob lang ng isang linggo. Malamang matagal na itong karelasyon ni Atticus at parang ginawa lamang siyang libangan habang wala ito. She took a deep breath. Pinilit niyang wag mo nang isipin ng mga iyon. May tendency kasi siyang mag-overthink ng mga bagay-bagay. Sarili lang niyang pinapagod niya. Tumayo siya at lumabas ng cubicle. Inayos ang sarili at bumalik sa labas. Leah, nandiyan na yata lahat ng mga bisita sa baba. Gusto mo bang sumamang bumaba? Ani Rose. Nag-a-apply ito ng lipstick. Tinitingnan ko lang ang buffet table. Mauna ka na, Rose. Shutdown ko lang ang PC ko. Tahimik na sagot niya. She moved away from the window. Oh sige, sumunod ka na. Rose paused. Parang may gusto itong sabihin kay Leah. Then thought better of it. Iniwan na siya nito. Naiwan siya sa 4th floor. Isa na lamang arkitekto ang nasa taas at may ginagawa sa drawing board. Hindi na pinansin ni Leah kung sino iyon. Matapos sa shutdown ng PC ay muli niyang chinek ang cellphone. Walang ni isang text message. Bumuntong hininga siya, tumayo na. Then her message alert tone sounded. Kinakabahang tinignan niya kung sino nagpadala ng mensahe. Hoping against hope na si Atticus nga iyon. Explaining everything. Nalaglag ang mga balikat niya nang mabasang galing kay Rose iyon. Girl, nakalimutan ko yung flowers dyan sa cubicle ko. Pakidala dito please. Sunod ka. Asap. Kinuha niyang naturang mga bulaklak mula sa mesa ni Rose. It was a bouquet of pink calla lilies. Napakaganda at elaborate na arrangement iyon. Dinala niya ang mga bulaklak at bumaba na sa 3rd floor. Mukhang maraming ang tao roon. Lumampas siya sa foyer na walang tao. Mukhang pati si Fevy na nakikiisyoso sa okasyon dahil bakante yung pwesto nito sa kabila ng front desk. Tiningnan niya ang sarili sa glass door. Maayos pa naman ang tailored jacket na gray over her white linen blouse and matching skirt. Her hair was loose and free at kakasuklay lang niyon, kaya hindi na siya mukhang dugyot. Sa sentro ng showroom kung saan nakapwesto ang mesa at upong inarkila nila ay nagkatipon-tipon ng mga bisita. Matthew was conducting a presentation using a PowerPoint sa gitna, telling the history of SAS. Iginalan niyang paningin hanggang makita niya si Atticus, who was seated on one of the chairs to Matthew's right. Nagtama ang mga paningin nila and she wanted to smile, but then a woman leaned towards Atticus and obscured her view of him. Nakilala niyang babae. Ito ang nasa larawan sa bahay ng mga Bustamante. Ang prom date ni Atticus. She looked incredibly beautiful in a crisp white shirt and gray jeans, at isang pares ng flats ang pansapin nito sa paa. Her hair was pulled back in a tasteful ponytail. The woman wore only a pair of diamond studs in her dainty ears and an expensive-looking watch on her delicate wrist. Mukha itong prinsesa sa isang kaharian na umattend ng isang public event. Prim itong mupo at mukhang may importante itong tatanong kay Atticus tungkol sa presentation ni Matthew. Leah, akin na! Para kay Miss Elise ito. Biglang sumulpot sa harap niya si Fevy at kinuha ang mga bulaklak sa kanya. Miss Elise? Ani ang parang engot kay Fevy. Oo, yung katabi ni Sir Atticus, yung kamukha ni Donita Rose. Ang ganda niya, no? Yun lamang at tumalikod ng receptionist. She stood there like an idiot for a moment and then fled the room. When Atticus looked again, the doorway was empty. Sa bus pa uwi, hindi alam ni Leah ang mararamdaman. Nag-text siya kay Rose na masamang pakiramdam at kailangan mag-review para sa klase kinabukasan. Wala itong sinabi kundi, ingat ka. Pinagpasalamat niya ang hindi ito pangungulit sa kanya. Pakiramdam ni Leah gusto niyang umiyak, pero walang lumabas na luha sa mga mata niya. She guessed she's numbed. Parang nauulit ang masamang pakiramdam noon nang matuklasan niya ang panloloko ni Isaac. The only difference was, walang halong galit ngayon. All she felt was a great, yawning emptiness.